they're asking a really interesting question about basically, did Kevin Feige wait too long to bring in the X-Men and Fantastic Four? Check it out.
Hey, John, how you doing? This is Matt from New York. Just wanted to ask a question. Do you think that Marvel waited too long to introduce the Fantastic Four and X-Men, seeing as though it's been years since they've acquired them? And now it seems to, their post-Endgame, situation with their films hasn't been working out. Maybe they could have introduced the Fantastic Four much sooner. What do you think on that? Thanks.
All right. Thanks a lot for calling that in. This is when the Fox getting acquired by Disney thing was going down. Obviously, that acquisition was about far more than Marvel. Like, it was about way more. I would say X-Men and Fantastic Four was probably like a 5% of the reason that they got it. They got it for IP and rights issues and all that kind of stuff. But for us in film fan circles, it's understandable that the number one question that a lot of people had was about how fast till we get X-Men and how fast till we get a new Fantastic Four. Because they had taken a lot of kicks at the can of Fantastic Four. And we had a lot of X-Men movies. Some not so good. Some of the best comic book movies ever made. Days of Future Past, X-Men 2, yada, yada, yada. I still think Michael Chiklis was a fantastic Ben Grimm.
He was. He
I
really
love
was.
Michael Chiklis as Ben Grimm. And I like Chris Evans as Johnny Storm. The movies weren't great.
It's this section right over here. I'm just...
By the way, the guy who played Reed, I've never known how to pronounce his name. I've met him. I've talked to him face to face. I was Ion Gruffeld. I've never known how to pronounce his name in like my entire life. Anyway, so that was the big question that a lot of people were asking. When are they going to come? When are they going to come? And, every time a new Marvel movie was coming, all the fans, I've been doing this a long time, and all the fans, every time a new Marvel movie was coming out, this is the one. X-Men are going to pop up in this one. And then the next movie is coming up. I guarantee that the X-Men will come up in a post-credit scene. And then the next one, I bet you Reed Richards is going to come out. And for 5.5 years, every single time, I still remember the absolute 100% conviction that people had that because when they saw Thanos in the trailer, Thanos had the 3 scars. Everybody said, Wolverine did those scars. Wolverine's going to show up in this X-Men movie. Here we come. I mean, that was because we get excited, right? We're fans. That's what fans do. We get excited. And sometimes we let our excitement get us a little bit carried away. But Kevin Feige, right from the beginning, told people, and nobody believed it, it's going to be at least 5 years. Now, let's go back to this article. This article comes from 2018. So go over to my screen here. It would appear, this is, from Complex. My former employer, by the way, is Complex. Bringing up the fact, talking about, when is Kevin Feige going to bring the X-Men in? Now that Disney's got Fox and all this kind of stuff, said this. It would appear that you might be out of luck if you have any desire to see the X-Men make their way to the shared MCU over the course of the next several years. This may have been one of the first things that popped into your head when Disney and Fox merged last month, but it's still a long way off, according to Marvel Studio head honcho Kevin Feige. A lot of people need to remember this, what Feige said. In fact, Feige said that the X-Men characters will not find their way onto the shared cinematic universe populated by Marvel's most bankable heroes for, quote, a very long time. Feige made these comments to IO9 during the recent event intended to hype Avengers Endgame. He also said that the studio has another long-term plan that will begin in 2020 after the conclusion of the rapidly impending blockbuster plus July Spider-Man Far From Home, which is the culmination of 11 years and 22 movies build up. It'll be a while, he said. It'll be a while. It's all just beginning in the 5-year plan that we've been working on and yada, 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 yada. So anyway, he told us right from the beginning, it's going to be years off. Now, the basic heart of the question that the person is asking us is like, look, I think all of us, even the most diehard of Marvel fans, can agree that Phase 4 was a bit of a step down. Can we at least all acknowledge that?
No.
That whether you hate the MCU, love the MCU, whatever, I think we can all at least agree on the basic tenet that when you look at phases 1, 2, 3, and 4, Phase 4 was probably the weakest. All right? I have some stronger terms I could use, but let's stick with the diplomatic terminology that we can all at least agree with. Phase 4 was a bit of a step down, right? Some gold, some fantastic things in phase 4, no doubt. Some not so fantastic things in phase 4. So the question is, now that we can look back in hindsight, because we're in phase 5 now, we look back at phase 4, and in hindsight, we can see phase 4 wasn't so hot. Did Kevin Feige make a mistake by not more rapidly deploying a launch for X-Men and Fantastic Four? Let's address the Fantastic Four one first. Absolutely not. No mistake was made for Fantastic Four. A lot of hardcores will think, man, we need a new Fantastic Four. We need a good Fantastic Four. But the reality is, not many people, not even comic book readers, read Fantastic Four. I remember back when we were doing AMC Heroes, when Marvel just straight up canceled Fantastic Four. Because at the time, more people were watching Heroes than were buying Fantastic Four comic books. That's not good, because we didn't have a lot of viewers in the grand scheme of things. Not to mention, they've taken a swing and a miss. Well, if you want to count the old one, you could say 4, but they've taken a swing and a miss 3 times about trying to get a Fantastic Four movie going. By the way, I contend, Jonathan just had a picture of the most recent Fantastic movie up. I contend that the most recent Fantastic Four movie, the one that Josh Trank sort of directed, that the first act of that movie was actually quite good. I contend the first act of the most recent Fantastic Four was quite good. I remember me and Harloff went to the Fox lot. We got invited to Fox. We sat down in their theater and watched the new Fantastic. And we had no we thought this movie's going to be a disaster. We all thought the movie's going to be a disaster. We like Josh Trank, but we thought this movie's going to be a disaster with all the stuff we've been hearing, blah, blah, blah. And I remember about the end of the first act, Christian and I turned to each other and like, what's going on? This is actually pretty good. This is not bad. What's happening here? And then it went straight downhill after that. Anyway, a lot of people want it, but the reality is, amongst average movie-going fans, I don't think there was a lot of hunger for, we need new Fantastic Four. I just don't think that's where average film fans were at the time, or have been. So I think absolutely not. They didn't need to rush in Fantastic Four. X-Men is a different thing, though, because X-Men is far more popular amongst the average moviegoers. They had some stumbles with their movies, but they've had some big hits and some great stuff. I still think Days of Future Past is a top 10 greatest comic book movie of all time. Logan is a top 3 greatest comic book film of all time, maybe the best comic book film of all time, depending on the day you ask somebody. So could they have done something differently? My contention is this: it wouldn't have made a difference. The problem that Phase 4 suffered, while you could say they overly rushed to throw a glut of new characters at us, that's a legitimate criticism. I understand that. I hear it. But the main problem is not that they threw an oversized glut of new characters at us all at once. It was not that the whole audience can't really see any kind of what's the story of the MCU right now. That's a problem, but it's not even the core problem. The core problem is they have not made movies that were at the same quality level that they made in phases 1 through 3. And it don't matter if the title on the movie is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, or if the title on the movie is X-Men: A New Beginning in Florida. Doesn't matter. If you're not going to make the movie's quality, it doesn't matter what title you put on it. And so at the end of the day, I actually think, even though I'm not a big fan of Phase 4, I think Kevin Feige made the right decision. They already had their plan. They already knew the direction that they were going. And the fact that they got X-Men and Fantastic Four, they didn't feel the need to just go, well, let's just shoehorn them in. And I think Kevin Feige deserves a lot of props for that. So I will land on the side, Chris, that no, Kevin Feige should not have rushed in the X-Men and should not have rushed in the Fantastic Four. I think if they had their plan, they should have stuck with it. And quite frankly, I would rather them not be doing X-Men films when they're struggling and maybe have them do X-Men films once they've gone through a bit of a struggle and hopefully have learned some lessons here. I don't know. What do you think about it? Do you think maybe they could have gotten X-Men or Fantastic Four off the ground a little sooner?
I mean, I think there is something to be said of waiting for us to kind of get through the growing pains here to bring in such excellent characters.
Excellent characters.
Excellent characters.
Take a drink, everybody.
Yeah, I did.
So I think that's a good point. However, now I'm just wondering about how do we shoehorn them in here? Because that's the thing that I keep coming back to is, sure, I proposed it on this show of what if the snap, heightened that mutagenic gene and that accelerated evolution for certain people. So we did have some mutants around, like Namor, other people, but then we have, a huge exodus of mutants happening all over the globe, right? Maybe that's something that happens because of that cosmic energy. But then how do you fit in stories like a Magneto, right? Because something like that I think is really, really important of just having a few mutants here and there, I guess, who've been in the shadows this whole time, who experience the atrocities of man. I mean, you can make it work, but their absence in the grand scheme of things, if they've been here all along, is really, really big. We've had cataclysmic events happen that the mutants were just like, pass. Y'all
not my problem.
Not my pig, not my farm. Y'all kind of shitty, right? So I do think that's an issue.
I have never heard the phrase, not my pig, not my farm. Never heard
it. Yeah, we say it a lot in our house. One, because Logan grew up on a farm. And two, because I'm from the South and we say all kinds of dumb shit. Like, you could swing a cat, you'd miss it. So, little Southern lesson for everyone today. But
it's
the
all right,
Fantastic
Chris. We're all the same.
We're all the same.
Oh, God, don't say it, Ray. Don't say it.
When it comes to beef. So, we are. The Fantastic Four, I do agree that that's one that they can show up kind of whenever. As always, big shout out to RMB because I loved the idea of them being trapped in the quantum realm or something of that nature, right? And then being kind of thrust into modern day society. So we have a fish out of water situation. We have a tie into some things we've already established, like the quantum realm just being this like weird nebulous time and space situation. And then we can play with some of the tropes of the Fantastic Four being very intrinsically tied to the 1960s. They were the first family. They had more of a kind of sitcom vibe to them in the comics initially. And so I think you can kind of pop them in whenever you want to. Or maybe when the snap happened, some other shit was happening with them and they were just like, this is not the time for us to talk about how our bodies are changing. There's a lot you can still do that makes sense for them narratively.
Rob had a theory that I don't know what they're going to do, but it works on a lot of levels. One of Rob's theories about phase 4 and phase 5 is that every single one of the movies we've seen in the MCU in phase 4 and phase 5 all take place in their own universes. That after the events of Endgame, there has been this splintering of realities and time, and then that kind of half got expressed in Loki, and that the reason you don't really hear a lot of talk about this giant planet-sized being coming out of the Indian Ocean, or this other planet-sized being that appeared above the skies and Earth saying, I will return for judgment, and nobody decided to talk about, is maybe because every single one of these things. So you could theoretically say mutants have been in a different universe. So you could say, the universe that Ms. Marvel is in. And maybe part of the thing that we're getting with the Marvels is not only that these characters are interacting, that maybe their universes are merging. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't buy into the theory personally. I just like the theory. Mm-hmm. You could do a lot of stuff there. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about all this? Did Marvel make a mistake by not bringing in X-Men and Fantastic Four sooner? Or do you think they played it smart and decided not to rush them or shoehorn them in and stick to their plan? How would you have approached it? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. From the gas pump to the grocery store, your utility bills and favorite streaming services, inflation is everywhere. Seriously, make it stop. Thankfully, there's one company out there that's giving you a much needed break. It's Mint Mobile. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know that ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've been saving almost 70% a month over my old phone plan. For people looking for extra savings this year? Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea.